I guess we didn't hand out Bibles, but it looked like everybody got them anyway. You got your Bible? Where we at? This one? Yeah, that works. Here's my baby here. This is what Tia gave me. I like that one. I want to get more like it. Hold it. You know what I'm saying? I want to get like bigger versions because I like the way it put the parentheses in. Show you how to pronounce a lot of the words and the names and stuff. Makes it easier. All righty. Sabbath peace, brothers. Sabbath peace, sisters. My wife. Sabbath peace to my boy. It's always an honor, a pleasure for us to come together and honor the Most High God as we hear and learn of the word of truth that's given to us by the Most High God. All honor goes to the Father through the Son, whose name is Yahushua, whom we call Jesus. Reconciled all flesh to himself. In him lies the only hope for salvation. All right. We obtain that free gift, right? That's given freely. We obtain it by grace through faith. As any man should boast, not of works, the Bible tells us. All right. We know that we have obtained it, or we are on the trek to obtain it, the journey to obtain it, if we obey. All right. If we do not obey, then that means that we do not believe. It's made, it's made manifest, right? Made obvious that we do not believe if we do not obey, and that we are already condemned. In this state, we should expect no good thing from God. The only thing that we should expect is fearful judgment, right? Because after death comes the judgment, right? It's appointed once for a man to die, and after that comes the judgment. So if we are walking in disobedience, the only thing that we would logically expect as believers in the Bible is the judgment. Anything that we do receive, however, all right, whether it be gifts, right, gifts of tongues, gifts of healing, gifts of prophecy, whether it be special dreams or supernatural experiences, whatever it may be, it can and it will be used against us in a court of law if we do not repent. Even so, Sabbath peace to the people in the room, to my brothers and sisters in the room, to the brothers and sisters on the other end of the camera, and also to the brothers and sisters that we don't know about around the world scattered, that we will be brought together one day. That is always our prayer. But no peace to the wicked. The only thing we say to them is repent. They may be saved. Isaiah chapter 28, verse 9, and today is the 12th. September 12th. Huh?
What did you say, Isaiah, right?
28.
Isaiah chapter 28, verse 9.
Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast? For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest, wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest. And this is the refreshing, yet they would not hear.
Right? So this is what we always want to start off with to make sure we position ourselves in the proper position. He said he's not going to give it, right? He's not teaching the knowledge. He's asking the question, who is he going to teach the knowledge to? Those just drawn from the milk, right? Just drawn from the breast, ones just weaning, little babies? He said, no. He said precept is going to be upon precept, precept upon precept, right? These things are going to be a little confusing, right? You're going to have to scatter and search around. You have to be able to stack this word together to understand it. He said it's not fit for a child, all right? He said he spoke to them as if it was speaking with another tongue, so in another language. He spoke to them as if he had a stammering lip, right? A stammering tongue, right? So that means that he is in a position where he is stuttering. The end of both of these, we look at a person and say, what are you trying to say with me? And that's the same reason why we look at the Bible, or sometimes we think about God, but what should we do, or what does he want from me? What does he want out of my life? Because he told us that's how he's speaking to us, right? He's going to speak to us in a way that would cause us to think about that. What do you want? What are you trying to say, right? And so he said it would be that way to those who do not hear, right?
To whom he said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest. And this is the refreshing, yet they would not hear. But the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they might go and fall backward and be broken, ensnared, and taken.
Go and fall backward, be broken, be snared, and taken. Right? So this is the end of not hearing him. He said to those who would not hear. And because they would not hear, the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. So now it's a puzzle for them. It's something that they can't figure out. It's something that they're looking at. What are you trying to say to me? And the reason it is that way, so they might go, be broken, be snared, and be taken. We talked about what a snare is. What's a snare? All right, so we're going to make sure we keep that in mind. All right, let's go ahead and go to 1 Samuel. We remember what we left off with last week. Anybody?
Well,
Who did we talk about?
we talked about Samuel.
Talked about Samuel. Samuel being the prophet, right? And Saul. Very good, right? So we talked about Samuel and we talked about Saul. Who remember what happened to Saul when we ended?
Well, he was rejected from being king.
Rejected from being king. What led to his rejection?
Disobedience.
Disobedience, right? He disobeyed the word slightly, right? He didn't disobey all of it. It wasn't complete rebellion, right? But still, Samuel called it rebellion, right? Remember, the Most High God told him to kill everybody. Don't spare anybody. He had a little mercy on him, though, right? Sometimes we think of mercy, that's a good thing. But God told him to kill everybody, and he had a little mercy. He said, well, we gonna keep the king, right? We ain't going to kill all the animals. We're going to keep some of the animals to sacrifice to God, right? And the Most High God looked at him. He said, well, no, that's rebellion. Right? He said he told the prophet, told the prophet Samuel, and he, told him to speak to him. He told him he'd been rejected from the kingdom. Right? And who remembers what Samuel told him? Who was the kingdom going to? Anybody remember? Remember, he said that it was going to his neighbor. He said he's going to go to a neighbor. He said, I'm not going to take away my mercy from him like I did Saul. All right, so that's where we left off. So we want to pick up from there. That was chapter 15. We're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 16. We're going to pick up from there. I probably sound like a dingbat. My nose is.
Verse 1.
Yeah, not verse 1. Yeah, verse 1. First Samuel chapter 16, verse 1. Let's try to shoot through some of this.
And the Lord said unto Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel?
Right, so Samuel, he loved Saul, right? Saul was his boy. So when he got rejected, it wasn't anything that Samuel took pleasure in telling him that. Like, you've been rejected. He didn't take pleasure in that at all. Right, like a lot of times, if our heart is right, we don't take pleasure in telling anybody that they're going to hell or telling anybody the punishment that the Most High God has given. Right, we don't take pleasure in it. So a lot of times it pains us. Right, a lot of these things pains us. But of course, that's not how Saul sees it. Saul's not looking at him like, oh, you told me that because you love me. He's just looking at, you just told me something negative. I don't like it. Right. So now behind closed doors, he's mourning over. He's crying. So the Most High God came to Samuel. He said, how long are you going to sit here and cry over this man when I rejected him? Go ahead and gird up your loins. Let me tell you what you need to do. You breathe.
Fill thine horn with oil and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons.
All right, so who remembers Jesse? Who was Jesse's daddy? Obed, right? And who was Obed's daddy? Boaz. And who was Boaz's wife? Ruth, right? So we talked about Ruth not too long ago, right? So we learned about how they came about, right? Remember, Boaz's mother and father was Solomon, right? And Solomon's wife was Rahab, right? Rahab from Jericho, right? A Gentile, right? Ruth was also a Gentile, right? So we see these people that came in. These are actually people that create the lineage of David. All right, keep going.
And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me. And the Lord said, take a heifer with thee, and say, I am come to sacrifice to the Lord. And call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show thee what thou shalt do.
Drop down to like verse 9.
Then Jesse made Shema to pass by.
Go up a couple verses.
Okay. Then Jesse called.
What verse you
The
got?
Lord said unto Samuel, look not. How about 6?
Yeah, 6.
And it came to pass when they were come that he looked on Eliab, and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before him.
Right? So Samuel looked and he saw Eliab, right? This is the oldest, right? It's the oldest of Jesse. Right? And he saw Eliab. He looked at him, he's like, hey, you gotta be the one. Right? Nice, strong, good looking man. Strong, powerful looking. You gotta be the one. You're perfect. 'Cause remember, Saul, he had big, broad shoulders. He had shoulders above everybody. Right? So, Saul was a big, strong, rough looking dude. It makes him somebody, and he is good looking. So he is somebody that's like, okay, this is somebody who looked like a leader. So when he said, well, we got to replace Saul, we got to get something likewise, right? So he looked at him. Surely the Lord has chosen you. Let's see what the Lord said, though.
But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature.
So we know countenance is face, right? All right, so look not on his face or on the height of his stature. Don't look at how tall he is and look at his face now.
Because I have refused him.
He said, I refuse him,
For
right?
the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart.
All right, let's keep going.
Then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, neither hath the Lord chosen this.
He said, no, God ain't chose this one either.
Then Jesse made Shammah to pass by, and he said, neither hath the Lord chosen this. Again, Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, the Lord hath not chosen these. And Samuel said unto Jesse, are here all thy children?
All right, he said, do you have any more? This can't be everybody, right? Because I know the Most High God told me one of your sons going to get it. You passed 7 of them by me now. Is this all of them? Let's see.
And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, with a withal of a beautiful countenance.
All right, so ruddy, what does that mean?
Light skin.
He is light skinned, right? Ruddy means red, right? It's a shade of red, all right? So he is light skinned, right? Like what we say, red bone. You know what I mean? He is light skinned. And he is of a what countenance?
And he was of a beautiful countenance.
And he is withal of a beautiful countenance. He's a pretty boy. You know what I'm saying? He's a young, pretty boy. And he is light skinned. Let's see what else happened with him.
And goodly to look to.
All right, oh, good looking. Good looking young man.
And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he.
He said, this is the one right here. All right? That's the one we was looking for. A young boy, the youngest son. He is ruddy, right? We think of ruddy. We always think of ruddy, and we think, light skin, okay, that's cool. We're going to learn a little bit what ruddy meant back in that time, right? Keep going. So the Most High told him to anoint David, right? What verse is that? 23?
12. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah.
Right? So after this, what happens is David, he ends up being called on by Saul, right? Because Saul, the Most High God, puts an evil spirit on Saul, right? So Saul ends up needing somebody to comfort him. So he asked his servants. He said, find me somebody. I already know one of his servants actually volunteered. He said, you should have somebody play the harp for you, right? Play the harp for you, and then whenever the evil spirit comes, you play the harp, you feel get better. So the evil spirit, probably some type of discomfort, some type of sickness, play the harp, makes him just calm himself down, feel a little better. So it turned out they ended up getting David to do it, the son of Jesse, right? So David is now around Saul, right? So Saul, nobody really knows that David has been anointed to replace Saul. This is him just being anointed, just like Christ. Remember when Christ came, nobody knew that he was a lot of people didn't know or believe that he was the anointed king for a long time. He just suffered as a servant, right? But that's the same thing David does, right? For a long time, he's going to end up suffering as a servant. Then he's going to be anointed again, and we'll look into that next week. We won't get to it this week, but he'll be anointed again as king. Same thing as Christ. He has his first coming, then he'll end up coming, and everybody going to know he's king at that point. Same thing with David, all right? So go to chapter 17. Chapter 17, verse 18.
And carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge.
Right? So Goliath is out right now. Goliath is out talking all this big stuff, right? And David don't really know about this yet. So David is at home with his dad, with Jesse. So Jesse tells him, go ahead and take these supplies to your brothers, because their brothers fought with Saul in the war. So King Saul is still king at this point. King Saul was out to war fighting the Philistines, right? And so now when he's fighting them, he's into it, and you have Goliath who steps out, talking all this big stuff like, who won? Just give me one. Who just give me a man that I can beat up on real quick. Just talking big stuff. So since he's out there, nobody really wanted with Goliath. He's a giant. He's a big man, huge, right? Nobody really wanted with him. So now David is told, not knowing that this is going on, David is told, go ahead and take these supplies to his brother that's in the war. All right, so this is what he's telling him right now. This is what Jesse is telling David.
And carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge.
See how your brethren doing, and take these gifts to him.
Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines.
All right, so everybody was down there fighting.
And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with the keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against it.
All right, so that means the armies were standing side by side, looking at each other like, let's do it, right? They was in array, all right? They wasn't ready to scrap yet, but they sitting there ready.
And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion of the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them.
All right, so he is speaking according to the same word. David was like, David heard him, right? So the same words matter of fact, let's see what he's saying. Go to verse 4. So whole we got there, what verse was that?
Verse 23.
Verse 23, let's go back. We're going to jump back and see what Goliath was talking about in verse 4, and then we'll go back to verse 23.
And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had a
6 cubits in the span. Who knows what a cubit is? It's an arm, right? So a cubit is like your arm, a man's arm. You go from here, from your elbow to your finger, right? So it was 6 of these, right? That's about, on a man, that'd be about 18 inches, right? That's 6 of these, which would make him what, like 9 feet? 18 inches.
6'4".
About 8 or 9 feet, right? 9 feet. So Goliath, he's a big, huge dude, right? Big, huge dude. Let's see.
And a span.
What's the span?
I don't know. A span is probably, half or some portion of a cubit.
And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. And the weight of the coat was 5,000
So he is armed with
brass.
a coat of mail that you get in your email? No, mail. That's when you had a protective plate underneath. No, not really breastplates, but it's a protective like chinks of armor. You know what I'm saying? You ever seen those chain things? Yeah, so that's what your mail is.
And he had graves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them,
Listen what he said.
Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and you servants of Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me, if he be able to fight with me.
He said, if anybody with it, right? If he able to scrap with me, you know what I'm saying? If he can get with me, keep going.
Then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us.
All right, so that's what he sent out. So now back to verse 23. That's the same thing David heard.
Verse 24. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were sore afraid.
All right, so this is a big 9-foot man, right? 9 foot plus. You know what I'm saying? Walking around here, they're sore afraid. They're looking at them, man. I don't want to have to fight that man one-on-one. No, I don't think I can get him. All right, so everybody running away like, let's just fight the regular people. We don't want it with you.
And the men of Israel said, Have ye seen this man that has come up? Surely to divide Israel is he come up, And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel.
All right, so this is the proposition that King Saul, our king, right? So King Saul was our king. He gave a proposition. I'm gonna make you rich if you can get him. Whoever willing to go out there and you able to get him, I'll make you rich and I'll give you my daughter. All right, so that's the proposition that Saul put out there. Keep going.
And David spake to the man that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel?
So they spake just what they just said. They speak the same manner unto David right now.
For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered him after this manner, saying, So shall it be done to the man that killeth him.
So when they say so shall it be done, they just saying just like we just said, that one that killed him. David's like, man, this uncircumcised Philistine talking all this mess. What's going to happen? What's good? Let's see what David talk about.
And Eliab his eldest brother heard when he spake unto the man, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why comest thou down hither?
Right? He said, why you come? It is the older brother, right? The one that was said, the Most High said, I refused him, right? The older brother sitting there, man, why you come down here? You just being nosy. Let's see.
And with whom hast thou left those few sheep?
Ain't you supposed to be watching the sheep? Who'd you leave them with?
I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thine heart.
You
For thou art
always
come down
trying
that
to
thou
look
mightest
at
see the
something.
battle.
He said, I know the pride and I know the naughtiness. You always trying to see something. You trying to see some fighting. Ain't got nothing to do with you, right? Look what David say.
And David said, What have I now done?
He said, what did I do? You know what I'm saying? What you talking about? I ain't even do nothing. I just came down to help y'all out. You know what I'm saying? He said, what does he say next?
Is there not a cause?
He said, didn't I come down here for a reason? You trying to tell me I ain't come down here for no reason? He said, is there not a cause? Let's see what happened next.
And he turned from him towards another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner.
All right, so he asked him again, this uncircumcised Philistine, you know what I mean, Philistine, you know what I'm saying, what we going to do with it? What's going to happen? And they answered him again, well, if you get him, Saul will give you a daughter. So they answered him the same way. Let's see what happened next.
And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he went for it.
So they took messages to Saul.
And David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he be a man of war from his youth.
All right, so he said, look, little boy, you're not going to be able to fight him. You're young. And he's been scrapping since he was young. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's old and he's been scrapping. You're just young. You ain't got the experience. Why don't you go just keep the sheep, man? Go back and keep the sheep like your brother said.
And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him.
Right? He said, now, there was a lion and a bear. Tried to get these sheep. Let me tell you what happened. I took him by his beard, and I smote him, and I killed him. Let's see what's going to happen to the Goliath.
Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God.
He said, I'm going to do them the same way since he defied the armies of the living God. Right? He's not scared one bit. Let's see what else happened.
David said, Moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hands of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, Go, and the Lord be with thee. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go.
Right, so he gave him all the armor. David took the sword, he put it on, so he's strapped all the way up, you know what I'm saying, ready to go. Then he essayed to go, so he is ready to go. And then, let's see what happens.
For he had not proved it.
All right, so he said he was getting ready to go, then he stopped, and he was like, wait a minute, I ain't tested this out yet. You know what I'm saying? You got NBA players, right? Your NBA players, they wear brand new shoes in every game, some of them, right? But they not different types of shoes. They like, no. You come to them with something totally different that they ain't never wore before, and it's a championship game. He's like, no, I need my shoes, right? I need to wear the shoes that I played in practice, because I know how to use them. I feel on my foot. I know how to work. So that's how David feeling. Like, well, when I got with the lion and the bear, I wasn't wearing nothing. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff, I ain't really I ain't really got my moves right in this, right? So he said, I haven't proved it yet. I haven't tested it yet. Let's see what he do.
David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of fair countenance.
So he was but a youth, so he is young. And what's another reason why he disdained him?
He was of fair countenance.
He is ruddy,
Ruddy.
and he is of a fair countenance. You light-skinned boy, we know you ain't got no scraps. Same way we look at the light-skinned boys today.
Pretty boy.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know you ain't got no scraps. He said he disdained him. 1, you young. 2, you light-skinned. If you don't get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So he's looking at him like he's ready. Right? That's why the brother was looking at him like, David's light-skinned. Y'all, don't you, I'm it. I'm a lie. Don't you think I'm the one that should get it? He's looking like, nah, the Lord, nah, he's not chosen this one either. You know what I'm saying? They had to keep going. They got to the light-skinned one. It was like, oh, I know he can't be it. He light-skinned. We all Hebrews around here. He might be something else. We don't know what Pops did when he got in. All right, keep going.
And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field.
All right, so we have to take a look at what the Philistine did, right? So Goliath, he cursed him. And he cursed him by what?
His gods.
By his gods. And what just happened to David when we started out?
He was chosen by God.
He is appointed. What's another word we use? How did he get appointed? He is anointed, right? So what does the law say about the anointed? Oh, now we got to find it. Let me see. Leviticus. Oh, I don't know if I can remember this one off the top. Let me see. It's Leviticus. Is it Leviticus? Let me see here. See if we can find it. I don't know. We might not be able to find it. There we go. No, it was Exodus. Exodus 22:28. Sorry about that. That's just something I just noticed. Exodus 22:28.
And whether it be a cow or a ewe, ye shall not kill it and her young both in one day.
Exodus 22:28. So 27.
When a bullock or sheep or a goat is brought forth, then it shall be 7 days under the dam, and from the
You sure that's Exodus 22?
Oh, Exodus.
Yeah.
Leviticus. Sorry.
All right. Exodus chapter 22, verse 28.
Thou shalt not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of thy people.
All right.
Thou shalt not delay to offer the first of thy ripe fruits and of thy liquors.
All right, you good there. So he said you can't revile the gods, and you can't curse the ruler of the people. All right, you can't curse the ruler of thy people. All right. So now we have David, who is anointed as the ruler. Right. Then you have Goliath. He comes in, he curses them.
God.
His gods. All right. So now that's judgment, right? That's death for him. All right. The judgment for breaking that type of law is death. How was death usually? Stone, huh? Let's see what happened to Goliath then. Let's go back. What verse are we on? Probably like 40 something. 43, 42, 44.
Then David said to the Philistine.
What verse is that?
45.
45.
Then David said to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel.
All right. So this is 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 45. He said, I'm coming to you. You coming to me with all this stuff. I come to you in the name of the Most High God. All right, keep going.
In the name of the Lord of the house of the God of the armies of Israel, the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel.
All right, so he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit you, and I'm going to take your head off. All right, that's what he told him. So let's see what happens.
And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands.
All right, so remember, this is a man who don't have no armor. He's a young boy. He's light-skinned, and he's going up against a dark-skinned dude with armor, and he's huge. Right? Little boy versus big old man. Right? And he's looking at him, and he's telling him, I'm going to cut your head off. He don't even have a sword. Right? Doesn't have a sword, but he said, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to take your head from you. Right? So you can imagine Goliath is like, if you don't get out of my face, little boy, I'm about to stomp on you. Let's see what Goliath do.
And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine.
All right, so he started running towards him.
And David put his hand in the bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth.
All right, so then he stoned him. Right? He broke the law, so he stoned him. Let's keep going.
So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled.
All right, we're going to do a little bit of ad-lib because there's too much coming to my mind right now. So he stoned him, right? That was a judgment to stone. Remember, we talked about the differences. We have laws, statutes, commandments, and we have judgments, right? Judgment is the punishment. Whenever you have a punishment, judgment just means this is how you decide this situation. This is how you deal with this situation, right? Who was all judgment given to? Christ, right? Let's go ahead and make sure we read that, though. I think it's John 5. I might be. I don't think I'm wrong. No, I think that's John 5. I don't know what verse. You're going to have to help me out. John chapter 5. I don't know what verse, though. I think it's John chapter 5. It may not be.
John 5.
I don't know. You got to help me out. Look for where it said all judgment given to the Son.
There the Jerusalem.
Maybe around verse, what is verse 16 say?
And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him because he had done these things on the Sabbath day.
Where does he start turning red, the red, white writing? No, after that. After he did those things on the Sabbath day, what's the next time it start turning red?
17.
All right, what does it say?
My Father worketh hitherto, and I work.
Keep going.
After that, verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself.
Yeah, right there. Keep going.
See if the Father do.
All right, so this is John chapter 5, verse 17.
19.
Verse 19. John chapter 5, verse 19. All right.
Then answered Jesus and said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do. For what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise. For the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth, and he will show him greater works than these, that ye may marvel. For as the Father raises up the dead, and quickeneth them, even so the Son quickeneth whom he will. For the Father judgeth no man, but hath committed all judgment unto the Son.
All right. So the Father doesn't judge anybody. He committed all judgment to the Son. Right? All judgment is committed to the Son. And one of our ways of judging is stoning. Let's go take a look at Daniel. Daniel chapter 2. I'm try to shoot through a few of these. Daniel chapter 2, verse 44.
And in the days of these kings.
So this is Daniel giving being given an interpretation of one of his visions and dreams. All right. So in the what he's been it's been explained to him. Right. And so they just got done talking about a huge statue that was built up of a bunch of different metals. They got down to the feet, and he's saying all those different features represent kings. And so he's saying in the days of these kings.
In the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Right? So this kingdom, right, is going to break in pieces all these other kingdoms, right? And guess what he saw in the actual vision? He saw a stone that was carved out of a mountain without hands, and it flew into the feet, flew into the statue, right, and cracked the whole statue, cracked it all up. So now he's explaining this is what that meant. He's gonna keep telling you though.
For so much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, and the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
He says, the dream is certain. So you see the Most High God with his kingdom is going to do what? He's going to stone them, right? Let's go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 21. Matthew chapter 12. Sorry about that. Matthew chapter 12. Well, not 21. Go to Matthew chapter 21. That'll be better. We'll go to 12 later, so you can put a marker there. But Matthew chapter 21, verse 43. This is Yahushua talking. This is Jesus talking. All right? Let's see what he says. See if it all ties together.
Got it? 21:43.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus them, did ye never read in the scriptures, the stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner? This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of God shall be taken from you, and given to a nation, bringing forth the fruits thereof.
All right, so the kingdom of God is going to be taken from you, and it's going to be given to a nation that bears fruit. So let's see what else is going to happen.
And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder.
Uh-oh. So he talking about the kingdom again. He talking about people falling on the stone, going to be broken. And if it fall on them, they're going to get grinded. They're going to be crushed, be grinded to powder. They're going to be judged. Right? The judgment is given to the Son. He going to stone us. Right? If we don't do what he needs to say, or what he says to do, if we don't do what we need to do, then he's going to stone us. Right? Just like David stoned Goliath. Goliath cursed the God. Right? He cursed him. He got stoned. All right, let's go back. Well, now we don't have to go back there. We pretty much done. So David ends up killing Goliath, chops off his head, and takes his sword. All right. So now his sword becomes property of Yisrael. That's important because we'll have to visit that later. Let's go ahead and go to chapter 18. So between this time, David starts to rise in fame. All right. People was like, okay, they start singing songs even. You know what I'm saying? David, they say Saul, he killed his thousands. Right. All the young ladies, they sing. Saul killed his thousands, but David killed 10,000. You know what I'm saying? Dancing and stuff. So all the ladies all on this Saul heard that. He was like, they attribute to him 10,000 and only attribute 1,000 to me. I don't even know if these numbers is right. He looked like, what else they going to do? Give him the kingdom, right? What else did he want? It's the kingdom. So now he's looking at it like, they going to mess around and make this man king, right? So he, again, nobody really knows that he was already anointed king. So he's looking like they gonna mess around and make this man king. He knows though that the kingdom was taken from him. So now he's trying to keep it. Right? He knows that God said the kingdom was taken from him. So he's like, well, I still got it. Maybe God was just playing. Same stuff, we kind of look into. We know we sinners when we in this book. Well, maybe I'm still saved because it seemed like God still loved me, wake me up every day. And so it's that same little trick. Because he wants you to believe his word. Don't look at what you see. But if I tell you the kingdom is taken from you, you need to react to that. Saul may have found repentance for himself if he did, but he didn't react to that, right? He's looking at, well, I still got it, so let me try to keep it, right? So we're going to go to 18, go to verse, let's see what I have down here. Go to verse 12. So by this time, he started, he started having problems with David, throwing javelins at him, because, David played the music for him in his room. So after that, David, he threw a javelin at him, tried to pin him to the wall with it, tried to kill him. All right? Let's see what verse 12 is saying.
And Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him and was departed from Saul.
All right?
Therefore Saul removed him from him, and made him his captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Wherefore when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, behold, my elder daughter Merab, her will I give thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul said, let not my hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him.
All right? So now what did Saul do? Right? Saul was looking at, I don't like this man and I want to kill him. But what did he say to David? Here goes my daughter. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and join my family. Did he use negativity? Absolutely not. Positive, right? Extra positive. Let's keep going.
David said unto Saul, who am I, and what is my life, or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel, the Meholathite, to wife.
All right, so the daughter that David was supposed to get ended up going to somebody else anyway. Let's see what Saul come up with for this plan.
And Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David, and they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him.
All right, so he said, I'm gonna give her, right? I'm gonna give her my daughter. That's a nice and positive, kind thing to do to somebody. What was his reasoning?
That she may be a snare for him.
And what's a snare?
Trap.
A trap. Trying to trap him up, right? With kind words, with kindness. Right? Same thing the Bible tells us what happened with false prophets, right? With words of flattery, right? They'll be able to deceive the masses. And that's what I try to warn us all about, right? Don't get locked into what this world tell you about, think positive thoughts, only accept positivity, ignore negativity, this, that, and other. There's some negative people out there that's really trying to put you down, really. Not saying it's not a danger, not saying there's nothing to worry about with negativity. But if you set your mind up to only accept positivity, the more dangerous people are going to come from the positive side, right? It's going to be dangerous on no matter what. If you don't obey the word and look and you pay attention to everything, you know what I'm saying, and not put your trust in men, no matter how positive or negative they are, you'll find yourself in a problem, right? But if you sit here and try to ignore negativity and only accept what feels good, what builds you up, or what you think builds you up, then you put yourself in a position where you can be deceived. You're going to be gullible. You'll fall for the same old stuff every single time. All right, keep going. Well, actually, what verse is that? 19?
The middle of 21.
Middle of 21. Go to chapter 19. Try to shoot through some of the. Chapter 19, verse 4. All right. So what happens in between this time is, you know what I'm saying, he ends up killing Saul tells him, he says, you don't have to give me any money, right? You don't have to give me no money. Just kill, you know what I'm saying, bring me 100 foreskins of the Philistines. So he's looking at it. Philistines, to get their foreskins, obviously you're gonna have to kill them, right? You're gonna have to bring them to a point where you're gonna have to be able to cut the foreskins of their genitals. So to get their foreskin, he's looking like you have to kill 100 of these Philistines. I'm gonna make sure that they kill you. I'm not gonna kill you. I'm gonna let them kill you. Let her be a snare. So he killed 200 of them and came back. He was like, okay, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gotta give you no money for sure, because usually you'd have to give money to the father to take his daughter, right? Especially if you have a rich family, you gotta have money to do that. He was like, man, I'm from a poor family. I ain't with all that. You know what I'm saying? He was like, no, don't worry about no money, boy. Go ahead and kill him, Philistine. But he came back with 200, double what he told. So he did that. That made Saul even more angry. So they started to have some of their feuds, right? Go to 19, verse 4. It's 1 Samuel chapter 19, verse 4.
And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he hath not sinned against thee, and because his works have been to thee were very good.
Right? So this is what Jonathan is saying to his dad. He's like, you know what I'm saying? Don't sin against David. Why are you trying to kill him? He been good to you.
For he did put his life in his hand and slew the Philistine, and the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel.
All right, he killed Goliath.
Thou sawest it, and didst rejoice. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood to slay David without a cause? And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan, and Saul sware, as the Lord liveth, he shall not be slain. And Jonathan called David, and David showed him all those things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as in times past.
All right, so now Jonathan, he went to his pops. He was like, he's a good man, made a case for him. What did Saul say to him? As the Lord liveth, he won't be. On God, I ain't going to kill him. On God, I ain't going to kill him. Right? That's what he told him. Keep reading.
And there was war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from him. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, as he sat in his house with the javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand.
Oh, so here goes David playing again. He trying to calm him down because, Saul get that evil spirit on him. He get uncomfortable. So David, he go in there and start playing, trying to calm him down. Like, we cool, right? We had our little fallout or whatever, but we cool now. As the Lord liveth, you want nothing to happen to me. So he's playing with it. Let's see what happens.
And Saul sought to smite David even to the wall with the javelin.
He threw that thing so hard. Yeah, he trying to pin him to the wall with it, right?
But he slipped away out of Saul's presence, and he smote the javelin into the wall.
Who else kept slipping away like that? Anybody else who kept slipping away with somebody trying to get him? Yeah, oh sure, right? A couple times they was about to stone him for keeping the Sabbath breaker, but they thought he had breaking the Sabbath, right? And calling himself God. And so what they were looking like, let's go ahead and stone him. But he would slip away, or they weren't able to do it, right? Because it wasn't his time yet. He had to die a specific way. He couldn't die by stoning. He's the stoner, right? No pun intended. Now you need to cut that out. So we look at we look at what happens next after this. Jonathan, he ends up seeing for himself because he is in denial at first. So he ends up seeing for himself, okay, my pops is trying to kill you, right? So he's like, let me just one more try. You hide out in the field, right? They got a nice little plan together. You hide out in the field. You hide there. New moon is coming. You always are here with my pops for new moon. So what's gonna happen is when we sit down for new moon, I'm gonna see how he act. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We just gonna see how he act, see if he asks about you. If he asks about you and everything cool, then I'm gonna have my young lad. I'm gonna shoot an arrow, have my young lad. I'm gonna tell him it's right there on the side. If I say that, that's a message. That's a code for you that everything is cool. You come on in, have dinner. We gonna chill. Now, if I say shoot that thing and I say, nah, lad, it's way out beyond you. Keep going. You get out of Dodge, you know what I'm saying? Because Pops is trying to kill you, right? So Jonathan's still trying to well, maybe Pops is just tripping a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So he had dinner with him, you know what I'm saying? David didn't show up for the first day. Cool. Nobody say nothing. Second day, he's like, where's David at? You know what I'm saying? Where's Saul asked, where's David at? Jonathan was like, oh, well, no, he asked me, could he go to his country? Because every year they do a sacrifice, and his family told him to come. Right? That Saul flipped out like, what? Don't you know that I know that you and the son of Jesse, you and David got a little thing going on to your own confusion, to your mama's confusion? You act just like your mama, just stupid. He put it on the mama too. He said, just stupid. He said, don't you know as long as he is alive, you ain't going to be able to be king? He going to cut off our whole house. So that's what Saul looking at. The kingdom is going to go to him and not to you. You stupid boy. Why are you trying to help him out? You know what I'm saying? So, Saul started tripping. Then he ended up throwing a javelin, trying to hit Jonathan with it. So Jonathan was like, okay, I know for sure he's trying to kill you now. So he's sad about the whole thing. He goes out, tell David. David and him ended up, splitting ways. So David ends up shooting off. After David shoots off, he runs into a priest, right? Because he's shooting off a couple of his men, and he don't have anything with him because he's on the run. What? Oops. So he's on the run, right? He don't have anything with him. He's on the run. Chapter 21. 1 Samuel chapter 21, I think verse 1. So David is on the run, don't have any supplies. He had to leave in haste. You know what I'm saying? He's on the run for his life. Pop's been chasing him down. He went to his house. He went to his house with his wife, and his wife had to pretend like he was in the bed. Really, David had left already, right? So when they came to look for him in the house, she told her pop, she was like, oh, no, David, he's sick. So the messengers went back to Saul. Saul was like, okay, if he's sick, bring him to me in this bed. Bring his whole bed here. I want to see him, right? Because he's trying to kill him. I don't care nothing about him being sick. That's better, right? So they went back, and they pushed through the door, went to the room, and they saw, it's some goat's hair, and you just got an image right here. So you got something that looked like a man and some goat's hair. It ain't David. So they got mad. So he got mad at his daughter, too. Like, why would you in the world? And she was like, well, David said, better do it or he going to kill me. Right? Of course, he didn't really say that, but she was looking, what I'm saying? Don't try to kill me, Pops. The Pop's crazy. Right? So keep going. 1 Samuel chapter 21, verse 1.
Then came David to Nob to Ahimelech the priest. And Ahimelech was afraid of the meeting of David and said unto him, why art thou alone and no man with thee?
Right? So Ahimelech is looking at this like, why are you alone? Because remember, not everybody knows that Saul is trying to kill David. He's trying to do it secretly. Right? So Ahimelech looking at him, why are you alone? Why you ain't got nobody with you? Let's see.
And David said unto Ahimelech the priest, the king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee. And what I have commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. And David said, there is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hallowed bread.
All right? So that's set apart bread. All right? Set apart bread. He says, there's no common bread. Ain't no regular bread now. All right? This is set apart bread. So let's see what the priest does.
If the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days.
He said, we ain't had nothing for 3 days. We've been on the run, so we ain't had nothing at least 3 days. You know what I'm saying? So of a truth, that's for real. You know what I'm saying? We ain't had nothing about 3 days, right?
Since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea.
Right? He said, and the bread is in a manner common anyway, right? Because he's going to tell you why. The priest is going to tell you why.
though it were sacrificed this day in the vessel. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before the Lord, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away.
Right? So this is the day, it was the day that they actually switched the bread out. So he said it's the day that it gets taken away so they can put new hot bread in there. Right? So that means it was the Sabbath, right? This is the Sabbath day. They're switching the bread out. So when they switched the bread out, the priest gave it to David and his men. Is that a sin?
Well, you're supposed to have the holy bread.
Showing mercy, bro, right? Let's see what Yahushua said about it. Let's go to, now we're going to go to 12. Matthew chapter 12. Matthew chapter 12, verse 1. Let me give me some water. Matthew chapter 12, verse 1.
At that time, Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were hungered, and began to pluck ears of corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. But he said unto them, Have ye not read what
Well, hold on. First of all, his disciples were going through and they were plucking corns of wheat, right? Just one pluck, corns of wheat, and eating it, right? They weren't laboring in the field or anything like that. Just walking through, plucking it and eating it. Is that against the law? Absolutely not. There's no law against that, right? Law says you can't labor, you can't work. That wasn't work though. They was walking around just plucking it and eating it, right? So now the Pharisees have implemented laws or have put a certain strictness on the Sabbath, and we talked about this before. Probably it started off in a good place because you don't even get close to breaking the Sabbath. We did that before. We got kicked out of the land, sent into Babylon. Let's stay far away from breaking the Sabbath, right? So you end up, implementing things to keep people from breaking it, and it gets more strict and more strict. And so you see this happening here. So they plucking off stuff. Just another Pharisee, what they doing what's unlawful. But not really, because the law don't say it's unlawful. But they're doing what's unlawful. Then let's see how Yahushua responds.
Have you not read what David did when he was a hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of God and did eat of the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests?
All right, so Yahushua said it was a sin. He said they ate bread that was not lawful for them to eat, neither for the people that were with him, but only for the priests, right? Because these breads, they were set apart only for the children of Aaron, right? Children of Aaron were supposed to be able to eat the bread and eat the things that were set apart, eat the things that were really supposed to go to God. Anything that was given to God or for recognition to God that has to do with the temple always went to the sons of Aaron. All right, keep going.
For have ye not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests of the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless?
All right, so now on the Sabbath days, it says the priests of the temple profane the Sabbath. What is he talking about? What is he talking? How did the priests break the Sabbath? They kindle fire, right? Because we have to burn fire, and the priests on the Sabbath, they have to do twice as many sacrifices that they do on any other day, right? So you have the daily sacrifices, and on the Sabbath, the priest has to do twice as many. So he says, you haven't heard? You ain't supposed to kindle no fire, right? You ain't supposed to be lighting no fire on the Sabbath. And then what do you have? The priest lighting the fire. He said, haven't you heard that the priests profane the Sabbath? In the law, right? In your law. Haven't you heard that they profane the Sabbath? Let's see what happens next.
And are blameless? But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have not sacrifice, you will not have condemned the guiltless.
He said, you don't even know what you're talking about, right? If you knew what these mean, if you knew what this meant, you would not have condemned the guiltless. So now when he gets to the end, he finally shows you, well, they didn't do nothing wrong, right? If you understood any of this, you wouldn't have condemned the guiltless, all right? So let's take a look. Let's try to make sure we can, get a full idea of what's going on. Go to Numbers 18. Numbers 18, verse 1.
And the Lord said unto Aaron, Thou and thy sons and thy father's house will thee shall with thee shall bear the iniquity of the sanctuary. And thou and thy
So hold
sons
on, read
with
that for me
thee.
one more time.
And the Lord said unto Aaron, Thou and thy sons and thy father's house with thee shall bear the iniquity of the sanctuary.
Shall bear the iniquity of the sanctuary. Thou and thy sons with thee. So everybody in your household, even your children, are going to bear the iniquity of the sanctuary, bear the sin of the sanctuary. That falls on your shoulders, the sin of the sanctuary. Right? It's pretty interesting. What happened with Eli's sons? Remember last week we talked about Eli's sons?
They got killed.
Why did they get killed?
They were rebellious.
They were rebellious. They used to make people hate to come and give the sacrifices, right? They would do stuff. They would lay with the women. They would take more meat than what they were supposed to do according to what the law said. And people hated to get sacrificed. They hated coming to them like, man, I don't want to deal with these dudes, right? So who's going to bear that iniquity? Just them? It'd be the whole house, right? So now it makes sense why Eli died, why his sons died, and why he said there's not going to be even a young. Everybody in your house is going to die in a twinkle of their age, right? So guess whose son Ahimelech was? He came down from Eli's lineage. Oh, he came down from Eli's lineage, right? Eli was, Ahimelech was the son of Ahitub. Ahitub was the son of Phinehas, and Phinehas was the son of Eli. Phinehas, that's the son of Aaron. Yeah, but Phinehas, excuse me, Phinehas was the son of Eli, right? So now let's go ahead and go to chapter 22. 1 Samuel chapter 22. Let's see what happens to the son of Ahitub. Yeah, Ahimelech, the priest that gave David this bread. All right. So if Yahushua said it was sin now. He said it was sin. But we got to see who's going to bear that iniquity. First Samuel chapter 22, verse 17.
And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, Turn and slay the priests of the Lord, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled, and did not show it to me.
All right. So now Saul gets there, and Saul's like, kill them all. He didn't say just kill the priest. He said kill all of them. Right? Because they knew, and they didn't help me. And they gave David a sword. They gave him, because the priest, Ahimelech, he ended up giving David the sword of Goliath. Because David asked for the sword, and the sword happened to be there. So he ended up giving the sword of Goliath. He was like, yeah, that's the dude. It ain't nothing like that in the world. Go ahead and give me that. Right? So Saul was like, you know what? You knew, and you didn't tell me. Right? The priest was like, how am I supposed to know that you warring with David? David is the most faithful in all your house. He do everything for you. He go in and come out before you. He love you. How am I supposed to know y'all warring? Saul was not trying to hear. He said, go ahead and kill him and kill all his house. So let's see what his servants did.
Turn and slay the priests of the Lord, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled, and did not show it to me. But the servants of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priests of the Lord.
All right, so the servants of the king, the servants of Saul, they're looking like, that might be a step too far now. You know what I'm saying? We ain't supposed to be getting at the anointed now. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The law don't tell us we could do that. We might want to relax. You know what I'm saying? So his servants, they wouldn't do it. Let's see who did do it, though.
And the king said to Doeg, Turn thou and fall upon the priest.
He said Doeg. So Doeg is the one that snitched on the whole situation. Doeg happened to be there. All right, Doeg was sitting there watching around. The Bible says he is detained in the temple, or detained in the tabernacle, right? So he is sitting there detained. I don't know if that means that he is in jail, or if he's just sitting, he had to be there on the watch possibly. So he was there, and he heard he heard David talking to the priest, right? And so he the one that went back to Saul was like, David, You know what I'm saying? Got hooked up by the priest, gave him some bread and a sword, though. You know what I'm saying? So then when he heard about it, he went out to see Ahimelech. Now he's trying to have him killed. See if Doeg do it, though.
And the king said to Doeg, turn thou and fall upon the priests. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the priests and slew on that day 85 persons that did wear the linen ephod.
85 people he killed them. All right? 85 people. And guess what that all has to do with? The sin of Phineas and the sin of, what was his name? What is it? Hen something? No, that's the husband's name of, I forget his name. I think it started with an H, though. But that was Eli's sons. Has to do with they sin, because remember the Most High God said your whole house got to get it. He said all of them going to die young, right? So he gets all the priests except for one. One escapes. We'll learn about him next week a little bit more because he's going to be running with David, right? So one priest escapes, but other than that, all of them die, right? Now, what does that sound like? Priest bear the iniquity, gave him bread. Yahushua. All right, he bear our iniquity. What he ended up giving us? All right, why do you think he had to get it, feed the 5,000 with the bread? All right, why do you think he is making that speech in John 6 saying, I'm the bread of life? All right, because he had to fulfill it. All right, he had to bear the iniquity. All right, he had to die. Why? Just to make sure that David lives. Right, David lived and the priest died. All right, he had to die and bear that iniquity. Same thing Yahushua does. Right, he dies and then he gives us the bread that we might live. All right, and what else did David get out of that deal? A sword? Let me see if that one makes sense now. Let's go to 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 2. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21. We'll get them later, man. 1 Peter, though.
All right, sorry.
1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21.
For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judges righteously, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sins should live unto righteousness.
Right? So he bare our sins on the tree. Right? That's what Peter taught us. Peter tells us that he bore our sins. Right? Let's see what else Peter talking about, though.
By whose stripes ye were healed. For ye were as sheep going astray, but are now returned unto the shepherd and bishop of your souls.
All right. That's Peter now. Y'all remember Peter. Let's see Peter back in his old life. Go to Luke chapter 22. That's Peter. That's knowledgeable Peter. Right? Peter did some growing. Luke chapter 22. Let's see what Peter was talking about before all these things were revealed to him. Luke chapter 22. I'm going to go to verse 36.
Then he said unto them, but now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise a scrip. And he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one.
Uh-oh.
For I say unto you that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors.
Right, so originally,
concerning me have an end.
Right, so originally the Most High sent his son, and when he sent out the 70 to go preach the word and prepare the towns before he came, he told them, don't take nothing with you. Don't take a sword, don't take a purse, don't take nothing. You know what I'm saying? You just go, whatever you get, that's what you deserve, but don't take anything, don't take a sword. Right? Now this time, he told him, well, now the time is coming. If you don't got a sword, make sure you sell your purse and get two. You know what I'm saying? You're going to need one now. You're going to need at least one. I mean, well, he said sell your sword and get one. All right? Make sure you get your sword, right? That's what he told him. What happened next?
And they said, Lord, behold, here are two swords.
All right, so now when they came back to him, he said, Lord, behold, here go two swords, right? So he told them to get a sword, and what they get? Get two swords, right? Just like David. He told David to get a sword. All right, David wanted some bread, and he ended up getting the sword out of the whole situation as well. All right, let's see what happens next. Go to John 18. Ever so wise Peter. Let's see what he's talking about in his younger days. John chapter 18, verse 7. And why did Yahushua say that they had to get a sword? Who remembers? It just told us that he had to get it because this had to be fulfilled. The scripture had to be fulfilled that he was numbered with the transgressors, with the sinners. Why would it have to be fulfilled that he was numbered with the sinners? He had to bear the iniquity, right? So somebody had to sin. So let's see what happens. John chapter 18.
Then asked he them again, whom seek ye?
All right, so he asked him again. Then first time he asked him, they said, you know what I'm saying, we seeking for Jesus. And they blew back. He said, I'm he. Right? And they fell back. They was like, what in the world? So he asked him again, who y'all seek? Who y'all looking for? I'm standing right here. Let's see what they say.
And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. And Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. If therefore you seek me, let these go their way.
Now he said, if you seeking me, let all these escape. Let them do what they do their thing. Y'all after me, leave them alone. Let's see what happens.
That the saying might be fulfilled, of them which thou gavest me, I lost none. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and smote the high priest's servants, and cut off his right ear.
Who did it?
Simon Peter.
Simon Peter. He said he had that sword. He came out real quick with it. You trying to get my master? Come on, twing. He cut off somebody's ear real quick. He's like, now what? You know what I'm saying? Let's see what Yahushua did, though.
The servant's name was Malchus. Then said Jesus unto Peter, put up thy sword into the sheath. The cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? Then the band and the captain and the officers of the Jews took Jesus and bound him.
Right? So they ended up taking him. And then he ended up dying and bearing our iniquity. Right? Just like the priest. The priest, he was looking like, yeah, man, here goes some bread. You know what I'm saying? Priest, that's not how it's supposed to go. But go ahead, here's some bread. Right? I know it's going to cause you to sin. But I got to bear this iniquity. Right? So then he bears the iniquity. And his whole household dies. Right? And it also has to do with Eli. So after this happens, right, there becomes battles in between Saul and David. Saul starts looking for him. Right, he finds him one time. In Judah, in South Judah. And so he goes in and says, people snitch on David because David is hiding out there. They were like, listen, we know where David is. We bring him to you. You know what I'm saying? That will be our part. We take you to where he at, and then you do whatever makes you happy from there. Right? So so after that, David heard about it. He had talked to the ephod, to the Urim, and the Most High God gave him some ways out of it. Then David found him one time. He is, taking a poop inside of he going to the bathroom. He going to the bathroom. The Bible euphemizes this, him covering his feet, right? Then he going to the bathroom in the cave, all right? Left his robe, so David took. He is like, I can't kill him though, right? I can't slay the Lord's anointed. That's against the law. So he said, you know what I'm saying? Let me just chop off a piece of his robe, just as proof that I could have got you now. So he came back later. He was like, he called out to him, Saul, right, where he couldn't see him. It wouldn't be a fight. Look, I chopped off your robe. You know what I'm saying? Look what I did. You know what I'm saying? The Most High God has delivered you into my hand. If I wanted to, I could have got you. But I'm not putting my hand against the Lord's anointed. You know what I'm saying? Why are you after me? Why are you trying to get me? I ain't after you. This is proof. I'm not after you. Right? So Saul, what you think Saul said? I hate you. I'm going to kill you. I'm about to get you right now? No. Saul was like, oh, my servant David, you're more righteous than me. Right? Oh, you want. No, I'm not get you. I was a fool. I've sinned. confessing everything. I've sinned. I did all the wrong things, this, that, and the other. Just come on. Come on. What you think would have happened if he would have came on? Saul would have tried to get him just like he got him before, right? Then another time he caught him. Saul was asleep. All his people were asleep, and his commander, Abner, he was asleep as well, right? So Abner is a right-hand man, right? All of them fell into a deep sleep. The Bible tells us the Most High God put them in a deep sleep. So then David heard about that. He looked at him. He was like, oh. So he went down and he took his spear. What else he took? Took his
jar of water or something.
Yeah. Took his spear in his jar. So he came up there and he was like, Abner, you the man, ain't you? Right, you the man. Check where his stuff is. Ooh, no, I ain't too nice now, right? You should be put to death for something like this, because the king could have got, and it's your job to protect him, right? And so then Saul called out, is that the voice of my son David? Well, yes, it is. Oh, David. So he cozy up, he speak good, kind words to him, right? What do you think would have happened if David would have fell for them kind words? He would have died, right? That's why always the deception is most likely going to come from kind words. Even me, not too long. What was that? What was that when my sister texted? What was that, Tuesday? No, last week? Whatever the case is, I said something to my sister, right? Something happened. It had to be Sunday night, right? So I said something to my sister, right? I was like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think this is cool, right? Something happened. I'm like, this is not cool, right? Can't do this. This is not cool, right? So I'm just telling her straight, just like what I see, just calling it how I see it. This is not cool. So she responds, laugh out loud. Is one of them offended laugh out loud. Laugh out loud, okay, bye. You know what I'm saying? Leave it alone. Then I go to my mom's house. I find my mom talking on the phone with her outside. My mom's upset about the whole thing. I don't know what you did, but you shouldn't. I'm like, I just told her it wasn't cool. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not about to lose no sleep over this. Because I know I didn't say nothing crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, let's just go. Then she sent me this 3-page text message letter. I don't know what I did, what you did to you, but just please forgive me. I know I'm not perfect and this, that, and the other, but I know God loved me and this, that, and the other, and da-da-da. I just want you to forgive me for anything that I've ever done to you, right? So I'm looking at it like, so the thing that you actually did wrong, the thing I just told you, okay, this is not cool, that's not good enough. Now you got to try to pretend. It makes you more comfortable to pretend like I'm holding some grudge against you for something that figures out in your mind. Right, but that's what they do. They use these kind words. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of you, and I admire you so much, and this, that, and the other, da, da, da. We can't be moved by none of this stuff. Right? At the end of the day, what are we looking at? This is a simple conversation about something I think you could have done better. Now you turn it into, but I know God loves me. Now I got to tell. Well, listen. This is what God say about the people He loves. Well, but I know I'm saved. This is what God say about the people that saved. Well, I know. Do you believe the Bible? Yeah, I believe the Bible. Then do you agree with that? Well, I just know where me and God already spoke to you about it, so He's speaking to you, even though you going opposite of what His word. So His word is different when He speaks to you than what's in the word. All right. Well, you keep speaking to Him then. I'm just letting you know this is the most true, a more sure word of prophecy that Peter told us. Right? That's what I get it all the time. Right? People tell me, I really do what God is doing with you. Yeah, that stuff can't move us. Because what's going to happen is we're going to get hyped up. You know what? God is doing something in me. Right? And that's how these false prophets start. They get to feeling it, just like we break down the word here, and the Most High He's giving us some good stuff in here. There's some stuff that you won't find anywhere else, right? So we get puffed up. Somebody tell us, you know what? God is doing a work in you. We believe it. God is doing a work in me now. That is true. God is doing a work in me. Then we want to exalt ourselves. We say, I need people to believe me. I think I'm a prophet. Because God is doing the work in me. He is using me. That is true. So what do you start saying? You start calling yourself prophet. That's why you get all these pastors that call themselves prophets or apostles and all this stuff. Because you build a church. I built a church. Paul built churches. Paul was an apostle. Therefore, I'm an apostle. So that's how they look at it. If I have some type of representation of them, they don't look at what the Bible says the requirements are. Right? Go to Revelations for me. Oh, I don't know where it is. Don't even go to it, because I don't know where it is. Revelation, it's somewhere in Revelation. It said his 12 apostles. So everybody an apostle now. You got everybody who built a church, who has more than one church, is an apostle. But the Bible says there's only 12. He said his 12 apostles. Even Matthias ain't even counted in that. Because the Most High God didn't choose him. right? So we look at these things, and it's important for us to keep ourselves in a place where we don't get moved by negativity or positivity. Only thing that should move us is the Most High's word. We look at this word, that's what it say, that's the direction I'm going. You say nice things to me, I appreciate you. But that don't negate what this word say about you or what it say about me, right? You say negative things about me. Are they true? Let me fix them. Are they not true? In one ear and out the other. It don't negate what this word say about you or what it say about me. We have to have steadfastness and not be knocked off by anything, because he going to attack us in every direction, just like he attacking David, trying to get David in every single direction he can, right? But we got to persevere through it until we become the anointed, right? We have to suffer long. He anointed us, right? He anointed David. He told David, you anointed. But now David got to suffer through all this stuff until it's actually fulfilled. Same thing with us, right? We read the Bible, it tells we have an opportunity to be saved. We have an opportunity to be the sons of God. So now we have to suffer through everything that he asks us to suffer for until we are then crowned, or we're given our crowns, then we lay them down at his feet. That makes sense? Let's go to First Chronicles 10. We're going to see how it all comes to an end here. First Chronicles chapter 10, verse 1. First Chronicles chapter 10, verse 1.
Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the 10 men of Israel fled from before the Philistines and fell down slain in Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines followed hard after Saul and after his sons. And the Philistines slew Jonathan and Abinadab and Malchishua, the sons of Saul.
All right. So who had to kill Saul?
Philistines.
Who was Saul trying to get to kill David?
Philistines. And
You live by the sword, you die by the sword. Same way that you try to put against, the same stuff that these people are going to try to put against us, and the same stuff that they do put against us is going to be returned on their head. The same way that they try to give it to us. Same way they brought us here in captivity, it's going to be returned on their head. Same way that a lot of us get shot down and killed, it's going to be returned on their head. The only thing we need to do is keep in mind what the Most High God has set up and just keep his word. That's what David was trying to do. He said, you know what? I could have killed you twice already. But that ain't what the law tell me to do. Right? I'm going to keep myself. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. David even said it. He is like, somehow Saul's going to come to his death. Right? Whether he just died naturally or whether somebody else come and kill him. Right? And that's what ended up happening. The same way that Saul wanted to kill David, it's the same way that ended up killing Saul. Keep going.
And the battle went sore against Saul, and the archers hit him, and he was wounded of the archers. Then said Saul to his armor bearer, draw thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and abuse me. But his armor bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. So
right.
Saul took a sword and fell upon him.
So he tried to commit suicide. Well, we'll learn a little bit more about it. Yeah, we'll learn a little bit more about it. So right here, he fell on the sword. What we'll learn a little bit more is that he didn't die at that time. Right? He didn't die yet. So he tried to kill himself, but he is still living. Keep going.
And when his armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise on the sword and died.
All right. So the armor bearer looked at himself. Saul's dead. So he did, and he tried to kill himself. All right. Well, he did kill himself. All right. Keep going.
So Saul died, and his 3 sons, and all his house died together. And when all the men of Israel that were in the valley saw that they fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead, then they forsook their cities and fled. And the Philistines came and dwelt in them.
All right. So now Saul's dead. All his household is dead. What happens next? David. Time for David to become king. That's what we'll be talking about. David actually assuming the kingdom. All right. We'll be talking about that next week. All right. David assuming his kingdom. Then after that, we should be able to, I think we should spend 1 week on it, and we should be able to get into David's son, Solomon. All right. Appreciate y'all. Go ahead.